Hello students. So we are going to discuss cooling and solidification of metals and alloys. Okay. If you see in the last session, we have discussed what is a phase and what is equilibrium diagram or a phase diagram and definition for solid solution and what are the different types of solid solutions we are having. So we are having substitutional solid solution, interstitial solid solution, and we have discussed what is meant by a chemical compound and mechanical mixture and what is the difference between chemical compound and mechanical mixture. And if you see the cooling curves for pure metal and alloy and solid solution and what is the difference. So when you are having a definite temperature value and when you are having a range of temperature value, those things we have discussed with the need diagrams in the previous session. And if you go for the quick review of the previous sessions, what we have discussed, if you see here, these things we have discussed in the previous session. If you see phase, so we have discussed the definition of a phase. So what you understand by phase? So phase is nothing but a form of material having characteristic structure and properties. So these things we have discussed in the first session. So definition of phase and how you can define a phase, right? And later we have discussed how the phase we can identify. Okay, so those things we have discussed in the previous session. So phase is nothing but it is a form of material having characteristic structure and properties. And later we have discussed what is a phase diagram. So phase diagram is nothing but it shows the relation between composition, temperature and structure. Okay, you have to remember these three terms: composition, temperature and structure. So how the relation between this composition and temperature and structure will be given by a phase diagram. And phase diagram, what is the other name for phase diagram? That is nothing but equilibrium diagram. So we can say phase diagram or equilibrium diagram. So equilibrium diagrams, what is the use? So what is the use of a equilibrium diagram? Equilibrium diagrams are used to know the complete description of the allying elements. Okay, so these things we have discussed in the previous sessions, and today we are going to discuss these things. So the objectives of today's session. So what we are going to learn in today's session, we are going to learn these things in today's session. That is cooling and solidification of a molten metal. So you are having a molten metal, and if you cool, solidification will take place. So what are the things we have to observe? Those things we are going to learn here. And cooling curve for alloys and solid solution. So we will discuss the cooling curve for alloys and solid solution. And later we will discuss two important phenomena, that is polymorphism and allotropy. So these things we are going to discuss in today's session. Okay. See, cooling of liquid metal. So we know that we are obtaining in the extraction metallurgy, we are obtaining the metal in liquid state. To get a solid, what we have to do, you have to cool it. So for that one, what we are going to do, see here, see, crystallization occurs around a small, look here. So when the cooling takes place, what will happen? When the cooling takes place, this crystallization will occur. Initially, a small nuclei will be formed. Already we have discussed these things, but I am explaining once again. So when the cooling takes place, what will happen? We have discussed slow cooling, rapid cooling, all these things we have discussed, right? So in the crystallization process, what will happen? Initially, the nucleation process will take place. That means formation of nuclei will take place. So you are having a small nuclei will be formed. And later around it, your particles will be formed. That means the nucleus will grow. If you see here, the first crystals have the crystal shape into which the metal naturally solidify. So the first crystal that is forming will have the crystal structure which it is having to. That means it may have face-centered cubic or BCC or HCP or a simple cube. Okay, so we have discussed the simple cubic structure, body centered cubic structure, face-centered cubic structure, and hexagonal closed pack. So these are the different crystal structures we have discussed. So in the formation of the crystal, it will take any of the crystal structures initially, and that gives the crystal structure for that one. And if you see, as the crystal grows, it tends to develop spikes and its shape changes into a tree. So these things already we have discussed in the dendritic growth of a structure. So what is meant by dendritic growth? So the nucleation formed will grow in the form of a tree, and that structure is known as dendritic structure. Okay, so a tree-like structure will be formed after the nucleation is formed. I will show you. See here, this is very important. So what is a dendrite? So dendrite is nothing but it is a formation of a crystal in the form of tree. Okay, it's look like a tree, and that type of formation of growth of a crystal is known as dendritic growth. Okay, initially nucleus is formed, and about that nucleus, and from starting from that nucleus, the grain will grow. The grain growth will be in the form of a tree, and that type of growth is known as dendritic growth. Okay, so you have to remember this word dendrite and how the shape it is like a tree-like structure. Okay, these are very important. That means initially a small nucleus will be formed, and so which crystal structure it should have, so that will be formed in the first crystals. So in the first crystal it should be formed, that one. That means if it is face centered cubic, if you take copper, so in copper you are having FCC structure. So when you cool copper, what will happen? The first crystals will acquire the shape of FCC. That means you will have complete FCC structure. Okay. If you take another material, if it is having a BCC structure, so initially the first crystal will acquire the shape of BCC, and the complete crystal, complete metal will have BCC. Like that. So whether it is FCC or BCC, it will be decided by the first crystal itself, and later after the nucleus is formed, the crystal will grow in the form of a tree, and that type of growth is known as dendritic growth. I will show you in the diagram. Here, if you see the diagram, see this one. This is very important. Already we have discussed this type of diagram in the previously also in other sessions. See, I will explain here. If you see here, if you see initially nucleus is here formed. Nucleus is formed here. Nucleus is formed here. Okay, and later what is happening? It is growing in this direction, in this direction, in this direction. Okay, I will show you clearly. If you see here, so initially it started here. Initially it started here. So that is formation of nucleus will start here, and later what will happen? The grain will grow from here to here, and from here to here. That means in one direction. This is one line in this direction. That is called primary axis. So in this primary axis, from here to here, in this primary axis, the grain is growing. If you see, the grain is growing. Similarly, if you observe here, it is also growing in this direction as well as in this direction. Okay, so it is also growing in this direction, right? That is secondary. And if you observe here, when it is growing in this direction, and if you observe here, and it is also growing in this direction also. In this direction also it is growing. So this is your primary axis, and this is your secondary axis, and this will be your tertiary axis. So in all the three directions it is growing. And if you observe one thing, in this direction again it is growing here, and it is growing here. So if you observe that one, how it will be like a T-like structure. It is like a tree-like structure. So that type of growth is known as dendritic growth. Okay, so it is growing in this direction, it is growing in this direction, in this direction, and in this direction. So in every direction it is growing. So we are having primary axis, secondary axis and tertiary axis. Okay, so in three directions it is growing, and the growth will be in the form of a tree, and this type of growth is known as dendritic growth. Okay, you should remember that word dendritic growth and how it will be and what is the shape of that dendritic growth, very important in the examination. And if you go for the another slide, see here dendritic growth. Just now I explained you. So what a dendritic growth is, see here. If you see the dendritic growth, as the dendrite grows, so of the formation of nucleus, dendrite growth, the space between its arms fill up. So the space as it is growing, what will happen? The space can be filled up. Okay. Outward growth stops when the growing arms meet others. So when this grow dendritic structure and from this side one is coming, and when they meet each other, what will happen? The growth will be stopped. You will get a grain boundary. Okay, so the outward growth stops when the growing arms meet each other. Eventually the entire liquid solidifies. So after some time, what will happen? The growth will be throughout the liquid, and complete solidification of the metal will take place. Complete solidification of the liquid will take place, and there is a little trace of the original dendritic structure, only the grain into which the dendrites have the grown. Okay, so at the end of the solidification, if you see, you will see a small dendritic structure you will see, and complete grain will be formed here. Okay, so in this way the growth will be there. Okay, so if you observe here, so initially you are having a nucleus is formed, and the grain growth will start in the dendritic form, a tree-like structure. The space between its arms can be filled when it grows, and the outward growth can be stopped when the arms meet each other. And when the complete liquid solidifies, what will happen? You will be having a small traces of original dendritic structure. Okay, complete growth will be obtained. Okay, so in this way the dendritic growth will be done. And if you see next slide, see this one. So solidification of metal, this is very important. These 5 steps you are having, I will explain. If you see here, this is step number 1. So what is happening in the step number 1? If you observe here in the step number 1, you are having liquid, and here if you observe here, the nucleus is formed here and here. So initially when you are going for the cooling, so 3 nucleus is formed, and after that, that means small nucleus acts as centers for the crystal growth. That means, so these nucleus will become the centers for the grain growth. Okay, and later if you see the second one, step number 1, this is step number 2. In the step number 2, what is happening? So you are having these the nucleus as centers. Along about the centers, the grain is growing. See here, small dendrites begin to develop from the nuclei. So actually you are having a nuclei here. About that nuclei, you are having a dendritic structure, small dendritic structure you are having. And if you see the number 3, so the dendrites grow. If you observe this one and this one, it is very much tree-like structure. So it is growing in all the directions. You are getting like a tree-like structure here. So the dendrite is growing and growing. And if you observe the fourth one, this is the fourth step. In the fourth step, what is happening? As the dendrite grow, the spaces between them fill in. So what will happen? This will touch here. So these are the gaps, and it will be filled. So after when the spaces between them is filled, what will happen? You are going to get a grain boundary in the 5th step. So in the 5th step, what will happen? If you see here, this is the grain boundary and this is a grain boundary. That means this is one nucleus is formed and it is grown in the dendritic structure, and this is one. So when they meet here, you are having a grain boundary, and you are having a grain boundary here. You are having a grain boundary here. Like that, you are having different grain boundaries after the complete solidification will take place. Okay, so these are the 5 steps that involve in the solidification of a metal. So what is the first step you are having? So initially you are having liquid. When you start cooling it, what will happen? Initially, small nucleus will be formed and which will act as center for the solidification. And about those centers, what will happen? Small dendrite will begin to grow. Okay, so if you observe this one, about this nucleus, you are having a small dendritic growth is here. And when the cooling is continuing, what will happen? The dendrite will grow again and again. That means the dendrite will further growth will be there in the dendritic structure. If you compare step 2 and step 3, if you see here, you are having small dendritic growth here. And if you compare here, it is having a bigger dendritic structure. So that means the dendritic growth will be there from step 2 to step 3. So when it is continuing like this, what will happen? They will meet each other. That means the dendrites grow and the spaces between them is filled up. So when they touch each other, you are going to get grain boundaries as shown in the step 5. So solidification is complete and little evidence of the dendrite structure remains. Only small amounts of dendrite structure will be visible, but these when the dendrites touch each other, what will happen? You are going to get grain boundaries. So in these 5 steps, you are going to get the solidification of metal. Okay, so these are the 5 steps are very important in the solidification of metal. So with this diagram, you have to explain the solidification process of a metal. See this one, thermal equilibrium diagram. So here I am taking to draw a thermal equilibrium diagram, I am taking pure water. So for pure water, so how the thermal equilibrium diagram will be? So here I am considering pure water. See here, I am considering pure water here and is cooled at 0 degree centigrade and it's a change temperature. So what it means, I am taking pure water and from 0 degree centigrade, I am cooling it. So what will happen? So initially you are having liquid and that can be converted into ice. So that means you are converting liquid into solid, means you are converting water into ice. So the cooling curve, if you draw the cooling curve for this example, so the cooling curve shows a plot of temperature against time. See, what is meant by a cooling curve? Cooling curve is nothing but you are taking temperature and time. Okay, I will show you. So when it is down to the 0 degree centigrade, so the water will exist in the, that means down to 0 degree centigrade means it is 20, 30, 40 like that. Okay, so when you are having more than 0 degree centigrade, what you are having? You are having liquid state. At 0 degree centigrade, actually the solidification process will start. That means formation of ice will start at 0 degree centigrade. While this is happening, the temperature remains constant and that is known as latent heat of fusion. Okay, so latent heat of fusion will be utilized. So in that way, so the temperature remains constant. Already we know that. Okay, in chemistry also we learn that during phase change from liquid to solid, so there the temperature is constant. So here also that will be happen and you can see in the diagram also. Okay, so here I am considering pure water at 0 degree centigrade and I am going to solidify that water into ice. That means I want to change the liquid state to solid state. So when I cool it, what will happen? Initially it will be in the water at 0 degree centigrade, the solidification process will start, and above 0 degree centigrade, that means above in the sense 10, 20, 30 degree centigrade, you are having water. When it cools down, minus 10, minus 20, minus 30, what will happen? Solidification, that means your ice will be formed completely at some temperature and that is below 0 degree centigrade, right? So during this process, during the solidification of process, that means when this water converts into ice, the temperature remains constant. That means phase change occurring. When the phase change is occurring, the temperature remains constant because here the latent heat of fusion is lost here. So because of that one, the temperature remains constant, and we know that these phenomena in the chemistry also. That means we have studied these phenomena in chemistry and thermal engineering also, right? And again we are studying here, during phase change, the temperature remains constant. Okay, I will show you. If you see here, see this one. Okay. So if I'm taking, so what is a cooling curve? Just now I told you, I'm taking time on x-axis. I'm taking time on x-axis. So this is x-axis. I'm taking on time on x-axis and temperature on y-axis. If you see here, this is 0 degree centigrade. I'm taking. I'm considering 0 degree centigrade, and below you are having minus, and above you are having 5, 10, 15 like that you are having above. Okay. So here you are having liquid. That means you are having pure water here. You are having pure water here. Okay. When it is cooled down to 0 degree centigrade, here you are having 0 degree centigrade. So when you acquire 0 degree centigrade, what will happen? The solidification process is started. So from here to here, if you observe here, from here to here, the solidification of liquid to solid is takes place. That means from this point to this point, the solidification process is taking place. If I consider this as A and this as B, so from A to B, so at time A, if you draw a line here, at this time to this time, what is happening? The phase change is occurring. If you observe this line AB, it is straight line. That means the temperature is constant. The temperature is constant. In this example, it is 0 degree centigrade. Why? Because the latent heat of fusion is lost here. Okay. And so in this A to B, in this time, that means from A to B, it is exist in both liquid and solid, and some portion will be in the liquid state and some portion will be in the solid state. Initially, the liquid state will be more, and when you come to B, when it's coming to near to B, the solid portion will be more and liquid state will be less. Okay. And at B, complete solidification will take place. And from here, if you cool, what will happen? You are going to solid, that is ice. Okay. So this is the cooling curve for a pure water. Okay. So similarly, we will have cooling curves for our metals. Okay. So this is the example to understand a cooling curve, and based on this example, we are going to learn the cooling curves for our metals. Okay. So in the next diagram, if you see a cooling curve for an alloy, if you see here, so here also what I am doing, I am taking time on x-axis and temperature on y-axis. Okay. So this is the liquid phase. So you are having liquid here. Okay. And this is the solid phase. Here you are having liquid plus solid. You are having liquid plus solid. Okay. So if you see here point A and point B, you are having 2 points, point A and point B. These are known as arresting points. These are known as arresting points. Okay. So at point A, the solidification starts, and at point B, the solidification ends. Okay. So in between these 2 points, the solidification process will take place. Okay. So cooling curve for a particular composition will start here and it will end here. And in this, during this temperature only, you are going to get. And if you see this is constant and this is constant. So based on the alloying elements, you are having this one, this portion. Okay. So you are having A and B, and so here the solidification starts and this solidification ends. These are known as the arresting points. So this is a cooling curve for a alloy. Okay. So it is similar to our example what we have discussed for a pure water. Okay. But here it is not complete straight line. Here you are having straight line, and later you are having some inclination, and later we are having some straight line. That means you are having a temperature range here, right? And if you go further, so what are the things we have discussed based on the diagram we have discussed just now? If you see here, all pure substances show similar behavior. All pure substances show similar behavior with alloys. There is no single temperature pattern. Okay. So, but with alloys, when you are having alloys, there is no single temperature pattern. So you are not having a single temperature pattern, and the range over which solidification occurs depends on the proportions of the allying elements. So based on the allying elements, the range, just now I told you, A to B, in that A to B, you are having straight line, and later you are having some range and you are having straight line. So how you are getting that range? So it depends on the proportions of the elements that present in the alloy. So based on the proportions of the elements in the alloy, you are having the range that is A to B. Okay. In the temperature, if you take in the temperature parameter, you are having temperature parameter on the y-axis. So A to B, that range will be decided by the proportions of the elements that will be taken in the alloy. And the points marked A and B. If you see the diagram, you are having the points A and B. These A and B are referred as arrest points. Just now I told you these are known as arrest points. What is meant by these arrest points? These arrest points are nothing but the solidification starts at point A and the solidification ends at the point B. That means from point A to point B, the solidification process is completed. So starting point of solidification and the ending point of solidification are known as the arrest points for that cooling curve. Okay. And these are known as arrest temperatures. Okay. If you see the diagram again, I will show you the diagram. See, if you see here, just now I told you these. I am taking temperature on x-axis and temperature on y-axis and time on x-axis. So this point A and point B are known as the arrest point. That means here you are having liquid, here complete solid will be formed, and in this blue one, what you are having liquid plus solid. So the solidification starts at point A and it is increasing. That means the solidification is going on. And if you see here the temperature range, here this is one temperature and this is one temperature. That means you are having a temperature range. So how this temperature range is decided? It depends on the proportions of the alloying elements in the alloy. Okay. And later you are having a constant. At B, complete solidification process will take place. So the solidification starts at A and end at B. So these points A and B are known as arrest points, and the temperature at this point is known as, and the temperature at this point is known as arrest temperatures. Okay. So in this way, we will discuss the cooling curve for a alloy. You see here. So already we have discussed, this is a cooling curve for a solid solution. Okay, in the last session we have discussed what is meant by a solid solution and types of solid solution and cooling curves for a solid solution. If you see here, I am taking time and temperature. So I am taking time on x-axis and temperature on y-axis. If I draw the cooling curve for a solid solution, so here you are having liquid phase. Here you are having liquid. So the solidification start here and the solidification ends here. This is the solid phase. So in this range, from here, that means phase change starting temperature and phase change ending temperature. So in this range, the solidification will be completed. So this is the cooling curve for a solid solution. Okay. And if you see here, cooling curves for a solid solution for different composition. So I am taking two compositions, A and B. Okay, 0 and 100, 20 and 80, 40, 60, like that. So you are having A and B, two constraints are there, A and B. So based on the composition, how the cooling curve will be. So you are having for 0 and 100, 20, 80 and 40, 60, like that. You are having different cooling curves for different compositions and different temperatures. Okay, so time, temperature and composition all are varying here. So based on the variations, how the cooling curve will be, it can be shown on this diagram. Okay, this is for understanding purpose. And next, see here, you are considering an alloy with A plus B. So if you take A complete 100% and if the proportion changes, see here, I am taking the composition of 0% B, 0% 20. That means if you are having 0% B means you are having 100% A. Here you are having your 0% 20% B means 80% of A. Like that, if you draw the cooling curve or a phase diagram, equilibrium diagram will be like this. Okay, so it is for an alloy. See, cooling curve for different compositions already we have discussed in the previous sessions. And if you see this one, see, this is very, very important, polymorphism. So what is you understand by polymorphism? So what is meant by polymorphism and how it will be useful in our solidification process, I will tell you. So first you have to define polymorphism. So what is polymorphism? See here, polymorphism is a physical phenomena in which a material may exist more than one crystal structure. So if a material is having more than one crystal structure, that type of physical phenomena is known as polymorphism. See, if you see the word polymorphism, poly, many, okay, so it is a physical phenomena. A material is having more than one crystal structure. That means you are not having a single crystal structure, you are having more than one crystal structure. That's why it is known as polymorphism. That means it shows more than one crystal structure. So that material is having more than one crystal structure. That type of physical phenomena is known as polymorphism. If you see the important terms here, see the terms. If you see the terms, it is a physical phenomena. Okay, it is which phenomena it is having more than one crystal structure. So a material, if it is having more than one crystal structure, that physical phenomena is known as polymorphism. So a material having more than one crystal structure and that type of physical phenomena is known as polymorphism. So if you want to define it, a physical phenomena in which a material is having more than one crystal structure is known as polymorphism. Very, very, very important question in the examination and in competitive examination. In the competitive examination also they will ask, what is meant by polymorphism? Okay, so are you able to answer that question? So polymorphism is nothing but it is a physical phenomena in which a material is having more than one crystal structure. Okay, and next we will discuss allotropy. What means by allotropy? This is also very, very important. Okay, so what is meant by allotropy? A material that shows polymorphism exists in more than one type of space lattice in the solid state. That's just now we have discussed. That means in the polymorphism we are having more than one crystal structure. Okay, and if the change in the structure is reversible, okay, so if it is reversible, then that polymorphic change is known as allotropy. Okay, we know that we are having polymorphism. If that polymorphism in the structure is reversible, then that phenomena is known as allotropy. I am repeating once again, very, very important one. See here, a material that shows polymorphism exists in more than one type of space lattice, we know. That means polymorphism is nothing but a material is having more than one crystal structure. That phenomena is known as, that physical phenomena is known as polymorphism. So if you are having a polymorphism and that change in the structure, that means from A to B it is possible, and if it is B to A is also possible, that means the reverse is possible. If it is reversible, then we can say it as an allotropic structure. Okay, that change in the polymorphism is known as allotropy. I am repeating once again. You are cooling a liquid metal from A to B. In that A to B, you are having more than one crystal structure. And if you heating it from B to A, then if you, whatever the structures you formed while cooling, if it is reversible, then we can say that it is allotropy. Okay, I am repeating once again. A material which is having more than one crystal structure, that phenomena, that physical phenomena is known as polymorphism. That means having more than one crystal structure. That physical phenomena is known as polymorphism. Okay, that means when you are going to get this polymorphism, when a liquid metal is going to cool to form a solid, you are having in that state, you are having at different points, you are having different crystal structures. Okay, if it exhibits such nature, then that physical phenomena is known as polymorphism. Okay, from A to B, it is cooled and you are going to get different crystal structures. If this polymorphism is reversible, that means when you come from A to B, you are getting different phases. That means the different crystal structures, different nature crystal structures, and it is reversible. That means when you heat from B to A, it is possible in the reverse direction also. Then it is known as, that phenomena is known as allotropy. That means if the change in the structure is reversible, if A2 is possible, A to B is possible, then if you reverse the process from B to A, if it is possible, then that polymorphic change, is known as allotropy. Okay, it is very, very important definition. So these two are very, very important definition, that is your polymorphism and allotropy. See here, this is very, very important question. Okay, allotropic forms of pure iron. Okay, just now I told you. So when you cool it, you are having different crystal structures. See here, I will tell you. So I will explain polymorphism as well as allotropy by using this diagram. If you see here, I am considering liquid metal that is above 2800 degrees centigrade. I am having liquid iron, that is pure iron, liquid iron I am having. When I cool from 2800 to 2554, you are having delta iron here, which is having BCC structure. And if I cool from 2554 degrees centigrade to 1666 degrees centigrade, in this one I am having gamma iron, which is having FCC structure and the nature is non-magnetic. And between 1666 to 1414 degrees centigrade, you are having alpha iron, which is having BCC structure and the nature is non-magnetic. And below 1414 degrees centigrade, you are having alpha iron, which is in BCC structure and the nature is magnetic. If you see here, from here to here, when I cool the pure iron, what is happening? It is existing in delta iron, it is existing in gamma iron, it is existing in alpha iron non-magnetic, alpha iron magnetic. So it is showing different crystal structures. Okay, it is showing different crystal structures while I am cooling from liquids to solid. Okay, this phenomena is known as, this physical phenomena is known as polymorphism. Okay, so it is showing different crystal structures. Okay, so that iron is showing different crystal structures from temperatures 2800 degrees centigrade to 1414, that means below 1414 degrees centigrade, we are having different crystal structures. Okay, so a material is having more than one crystal structures, that physical phenomena is known as polymorphism. So it shows in polymorphism. Then when we call it as allotropy, if I heat from here to here, that means in this direction, if I go for in this direction, when I heat from here to here, that means from here to here I am heating 1440, that means your alpha iron will become above 1450, your alpha iron will become alpha iron with a non-magnetic nature, and if you increase the temperature, it will become gamma iron and FCC non-magnetic, and again increase the temperature to 2554, it will become delta iron, and if you increase above 2800 degrees centigrade, what will happen? You will get liquid state. So what is happening? The reverse is also possible here. If the reverse is possible in the polymorphic change, that polymorphic change in the reverse direction, if it shows, that phenomena is known as allotropic change, or allotropy we can call. Okay, so this is a pure cooling curve for a pure iron and the allotropic forms of pure iron. Allotropic forms, why we are saying allotropic forms? Because it is possible from top to bottom as well as bottom to top. Okay, that's why we can call it as allotropic forms. I'm repeating once again. So see here, you are having delta iron, you are having gamma iron, alpha iron, BCC non-magnetic, alpha iron, BCC magnetic. Okay, here you are having alpha iron only, but magnetic nature and non-magnetic nature you are having. Okay, so yeah, iron is existing in different crystal structures. So this physical phenomena is known as polymorphism. And if this polymorphic change is possible in the reverse direction, then that phenomena is known as allotropy. So here it is possible. So that's why we are saying that allotropic forms of pure iron are a cooling curve for a pure iron. It is very, very important in the examination. Okay, so what are the allotropic forms of pure iron? Draw a neat sketch. So what are the parameters we are taking here? We are taking time and temperature. So you have to remember these temperatures, and you have to know the different crystal structures like delta iron, gamma iron, okay, alpha iron, and what is the structure of those irons, and magnetic nature and non-magnetic nature. Those things you have to remember. And we will go in detail. See here, this is alpha iron. So how the shape, it is a BCC structure. So we know that BCC structure means, so all the 8 corner atoms, you are having 8 corner atoms. 8 corner atoms, you are having 1/8 portion of the atom. Okay, so these things already we have discussed, right? So you are having 8 corner atoms here, 8 corner atoms you are having, and you are having a central atom. So at the corner atoms, what you are having, a 1/8 portion of the atom is shared here. So here in the structure of atoms we have discussed what is the atom effective number of atoms for BCC structure. So this is the BCC structure. So here 1/8 into 8, 1 plus 1, 2 effective number of atoms. Okay, you can refer the previous session videos for the effective number of atoms for BCC and FCC structures. See, this is gamma iron. So gamma iron, what is the structure of crystal structure of a gamma iron? This is FCC. See here, for this phase, 1 atom, for this phase 1 atom, for this phase 1 atom. Okay, so every phase is having 1 atom, and it is shared by half of the portion is shared by that phase. Okay, so in this way we can calculate the effective number of atoms. So these things elaborately we have discussed in the previous session, structure of materials. Okay, those videos we can refer, you can refer for your understanding if you are having any doubt. And if you see here, variation of microstructures in steel. So what is the this is the some portion of iron carbon equilibrium diagram. If you observe this here, you are having, see, you will be having a complete different terminology here. We are going to discuss those terminology, those definitions in the coming sessions. Okay, don't worry about the terminology. Just try to learn the basic things here. Okay, if you see here, austenite. Okay, it is somewhat a new term for us. Okay, and if you see austenite plus ferrite, and here austenite plus cementite. Okay, if you observe the words, austenite is, we don't know what is austenite, and ferrite, what is ferrite, we don't know. That means the term is new to us, but these are the very, very important terms, and we are going to use these terms extensively in the iron carbon equilibrium diagram. So you have to be able to define what is meant by austenite, what is meant by austenite, and what is meant by ferrite, and what is meant by cementite and perlite. So these things we are going to discuss. and we are having so many definitions, ledoberite, all these things we are having. So we are going to discuss those things in the iron carbon equilibrium diagram. Just here, we will discuss the variation in the microstructure. Okay, we are not interested in the words. Okay, and if you see here, perlite you are having here, you are having cementite and perlite. Okay, if you observe here, at this temperature you are having austenite, and at this temperature and composition you are having austenite and ferrite, and at this temperature and composition you are having austenite and cementite, and this temperature and composition you are having ferrite and perlite, and this temperature and composition you are having cement and perlite. So what we are going to observe here, so we are the microstructure of the steel. So based on the percentage of carbon and the temperature, so you are having different variations. So different structures you are having, here one structure, here one structure, here one structure, and here one structure, here one structure. That means this is one structure, this is one structure, this is one structure, this is one structure, this is one structure. If you observe this one, first one, this is austenite, and this one, it is your austenite and cementite. This is perlite, ferrite and cementite, and this is your cementite and perlite. And if you this one is complete here. Okay, in this way you are having different microstructures. Okay, so here we are not interested in the words whether it is austenite or perlite or cementite. We are not interested in that one, but you are having a variation in the microstructure. So that variation is interested here. So what we are going to learn, so we are having a variation when it is cooled from liquid state to solid state. We are having different structures at different temperatures and different composition of the carbon content. So that is our interest here. So we are going to discuss those terms in the coming sessions. And if you see here, see here, if you observe this one austenite, so how the changes, I am taking 1% of carbon, that is 1.2 percentage of carbon. If you see here, I am considering 1.2% of carbon. Okay, so I am considering this 1.2% of carbon is dissolved in solid solution of FCC in austenite. So if you observe this one, it is austenite. So what is the austenite? We are going to discuss in the future sessions, right? So 1.2% carbon I am taking. So it is having one structure, and here if you see the second one, as the cooling continues, what is happening? Cementite soaks to the 723 degrees centigrade, and you are going to get a eutectic composition of carbon, and you are going to get this austenite plus cementite. And if you see here, when this gives a steel containing cementite FeC3 layered structure of perlite. So here, that means, so you have to understand that means for a particular composition, if you take, as the cooling takes place, you are having different structures. So this is our aim here. That means what we have to learn from this diagram. We are not interested in austenite or austenite plus cementite or cementite plus perlite. If you take one composition of carbon, it is existing in different structures at different temperatures. Okay, so that is our interest. Okay, in the coming sessions, we are going to discuss elaborately. So what is austenite, what is cementite, and what is perlite, what is ferrite, what is ledoberite, okay, what is magnesite, all these things. Okay, these things we are going to discuss in the coming sessions. If you see here, so what are the things we have discussed in this session, just go through them. See here, dendritic growth and solidification. So how the solidification will take place? So initially formation of nucleus will take place, and it will grow in the form of dendrite, that means tree-like structures in all the axes, primary, secondary, tertiary axis. Okay, so you are going to get grain boundaries at the end. So the complete solidification process will take place, and solidification occurs differently for pure metal and alloys. So for pure metal, the solidification process will be there. For alloys, different will be there. That means in the alloys, it depends on the composition, but the proportions of the composition, it will take place. So you are having a range of temperature. The range of temperature depends on the proportions of the components in the alloy. Okay. And existing of different crystal structures at a different temperature is known as polymorphism. Okay. If a material is having more than one crystal structures in a material, and that physical phenomena is known as polymorphism. That means the crystal structure exists at different temperatures in different crystal structures. That means if you take one temperature, it will have one crystal structure. If you take one temperature, it will have one crystal structure. Like you are having iron, pure iron, if you take, you are having gamma iron, delta iron, alpha iron. You are having different irons at different temperatures and different crystal structure. Okay, that phenomena, that physical phenomena is known as polymorphism. If the polymorphic change is possible in reverse direction also, that phenomena is known as allotropy. So if the polymorphism is reversible, that means from if top to bottom is possible, and if bottom to top is also possible, if reversible is also possible, then that polymorphism is known as allotropy. So these things we have discussed in this session. If you go for the quiz questions, we are having few quiz questions here. What is meant by polymorphism? So just now we have discussed, it is having different crystal structures at different temperatures. So what is the answer? So different crystal structures at different temperatures. And if you see, what is meant by dendritic growth? If you go for the short questions with an example, with the diagram, you have to explain this dendritic growth. So nucleation formation and the growth of the grain with the dendritic form. And what are the different allotropic forms of iron? So we are having different delta iron, gamma iron, and your alpha iron, magnetic, non-magnetic. Those things you have to explain with the diagram. Okay, what is meant by polymorphism, what is meant by allotropy, just now we have discussed. And solidification process that occurs in an alloy, and polymorphism and allotropy by using your iron pure cooling curve for pure iron, we can explain. Polymorphism we can explain, and allotropy we can explain with a neat diagram. Okay, you can take allotropic forms of pure iron, and you can explain the phenomena of polymorphism as well as allotropy. Okay, so with this one, I am closing today's session.